right, y'all, welcome to another page review. We're back reviewing this month's chapter of Sacrifice. Now, guys, KAITO ain't playing no games, man. The dude is dishing out chapters every single month, right? There isn't a gun to his head. This is a dude who got a day job, the family, the whole thing, the 9 to 5. But the dude out here wanting to complete his product, wanting to express his inner man, right? He got to do what he got to do to pay them bills at home and all that. But in order to pay the bills inside of his heart, he must make the sacrifice, pun intended. He must make the sacrifice of doing whatever it takes to make sure that he finishes his product. And that might mean sacrificing sleep and maybe some family hour and so on. But nonetheless, family hour or even top dollar is not going to pay the rent inside your heart. Sacrifice is going to pay the rent. So through and through, I appreciate seeing this. And as you know, here at Coffee Comics, we have a standard on how to judge a product, an indie product. So this is a whole series. This is chapter 4, right? Initially, I had said that based on the 4 ingredients, right? So far, this only had 2 out of the 4. A bit of relatability in terms of the main character, Layla. And in terms of familiarity, as you read on, you do see the inspirations behind Sacrifice, that being Berserk, mostly Berserk, and other dark fantasy stories. But at the same time, it's not that familiar because it's so foreign. It's set in the Middle East. It uses, a lot of Arabic language. And so KAITO understands this and says, look, man, in the end, the target market is going to be the Middle Eastern market, So knowing that, he knows who he's selling it to, right? That's very important because a lot of people forget that. You just do something and you expect people to like it. Who are you doing it for? This product, definitely in terms of concept, story, is going to fit very well for those who still uphold their Arabic culture in the Middle East. So far, so good in that department. In terms of the ranking system, art ranking system, for now, it's still at D rank. You guys remember when I went through this as to like what makes something A rank, S rank, and so on. It still falls under D rank. I think to beef it up to C rank and so on, there still needs to be more practicing of anatomy. I will say that a lot of pages do look rushed, but I suppose it's to meet his own personal deadlines. But nonetheless, better finished than perfect. At the end of the day, you'll never have something perfect. Never. Even if you were S rank, you are never actually going to feel like you're S rank. That's just the pain of being an artist. But ultimately, right, there can be improvements here with the artwork, but nonetheless, you can see what's going on, right? You can understand what's going on, and oh well, that's good enough. After all, as you see the examples here of D rank manga like Demon Slayer, Attack on Titan, and even One Piece, they still kicking it. Better finished than perfect. So let's get right into it then. So we got this cool cover of the Hunter, and I like the title of this chapter, False Hope. I can see that the author actually listens to what I say. He listens to what I say and he actually applies it. Also in narrative choice, such as False Hope, it was as if like he listened to one video I made a while ago about false hope. And I'm like, oh, okay, he implemented that. Nice. So I appreciate that. It's good to see when people actually apply the things I say, right? And then you actually see improvements. You actually see, well, the story being deeper. But anyways, so in the last chapter, this werewolf, well, it's actually a were hyena. Let's just call it werewolf for now. Had made itself known to Layla and her friend, and now the chase has begun. And I gotta say that indeed this chapter is intense. If he wanted to make it intense, he definitely succeeded in doing that. So the girls are totally terrified, and the wolf begins to come forward and starts chasing them. Then all of a sudden, this eagle or hawk flies down and starts to lead Layla and Yasmin to a different direction. And still the wolf be chasing them. And Layla out here hoping that this is a good sign. And luckily, in a way, it's a manufactured sign, but it still helps. Turns out it was the hunter using Layla as bait. And then he drops what seems to be a giant crate on the wolf. Here, I gotta say that the wolf looks like it's laughing or smiling. I think this line over here, bro, it kind of looks like he's smiling. So maybe bring it down instead of, making it go up like that. Because it really looks like it's smiling instead of experiencing pain that the crater fell on top of him. And this part here, it's very hard to see what the heck is going on. Like I have to imagine what's going on instead of seeing what's going on. You don't want to do that. I get it, like crush, the crater fell and so on, but it's not clear enough. It's really not clear enough. You're gonna have to like polish this up somehow to make what's actually going on a bit more visible. You could add a lot of, not a lot, but you could add like tiny pebbles and dust particles, scattering, because, well, this wolf just got smashed and obviously there'd be some pebbles flying in the air instead of it just looking still like this. The sense of movement of the crater falling down here works. I would have added some lines on the ears and the hair to show the force, as you added like here. See these lines here? You see how you rendered them? Adding those here to the wolf's hair and ears and so on, just to show that additional movement that he is being crushed, would have added more to the intensity. And then here, adding those dust particles would have helped as well. And the girls be like, was that a miracle? Then the hunter says, sorry, but no. I was using you as bait. And so the hawk lands on his shoulder, and the wolf realizes that, oh, it's him. Then he says, look, don't take it personally, okay? This is just my way of hunting jinn. This is a pretty cool page over here. And then we see that he's kind of transforming over here, like his eye is turning black. And he says, this time I won't underestimate you. The wolf says, that's the eye of Zakar. Then he laughs, saying, I've heard about you, a hunter who uses the power of jinn. You humans are such contradictions. Now, he made it clear to me, the author, that, look, bro, I know you've spoken against human characters using the power of darkness as a good thing. But this is in the short term to show why it's not sustainable. That's good, because I obviously would have complained. Using demon power-ups is a bad thing. We're sick and tired of seeing that. It's just bad. Humans must actually, the human form must be amplified, must be exalted if there's a transformation. It shouldn't be disfigured and ugly and scary and demonic looking, right? That's what the power of darkness does. It disfigures the human form. It doesn't enhance the human form, right? So it's going to be interesting to see how the hunter goes from this disfigured form, right? Using the power of darkness to eventually using a different power that is actually going to enhance his human form, right? Uh, it should be straightforward. But anyways, then he says this is the only way to wage war on monsters. And he charges in. Very cool, big splash page there. And the wolf swings his tail and grabs onto the sword, and the hunter gets whacked, flying backwards. And Layla is still there, and the hunter says, "What the heck are you doing here? You need to get out of here." And she remains stubborn and says, "I want to help." Dude brings out a weapon, a claw of his. I will say that in this panel here, I kind of got lost because look at this. You see his right arm here has that little string on his bicep, right? And then all of a sudden, this right arm is now the left arm. It really bugged me out, right? Some can say, oh, it's just a minor thing. If I noticed it on my first read, it's not a minor thing, right? I think you're just going to have to flip this panel to the right so that it can look better. Because yeah, it really bugged me out. It's like, wait, what's going on here? But that's his right arm. It's not his left arm, but oh well. So he brings out the claw, tells Layla to get the heck up and out of here. And all of a sudden, Layla starts to have that bimbo moment. Now, I won't lie, bro. This moment here where Layla is having a bimbo moment where, oh, I remember my trauma and I'm going to act like a hero and not run away from a situation like I once did. It's too generic. It's too generic, and we know what's going to happen. We know from this page onwards, I knew exactly what was going to happen. She was going to get in the way, right? And then the hunter was going to have to save her at the cost of him getting hurt. I saw that coming. Everybody would see that coming. You don't want to do that. What could have been an alternative? I don't know, right? But giving us the obvious is completely unacceptable, right? Maybe then she should have thought of a plan instead of charging in and getting the hunter hurt, because it's too obvious and generic. It forces us to see Layla as another, well, bimbo woman who got in the way of a man's job. That's just how it is, bro, right? And I know you don't want to do that, right? So the question is, then why'd you do it? Why'd you do it? You know, I would thought Layla is actually more level-headed. Her naivete, right? I thought honestly would be in the back burner as somebody who learned from her mistakes, somebody who's introspective. I would have thought that she would not put the hunter in harm's way or herself. She would have to think before acting. But that was not the case, so I was greatly disappointed here. So anyways, the wolf says, I've got your little sword. I've got your sword, hunter. Come and get it. And they charge in. I gotta say again with the wolf, the fur here, so I'm not sure which tool you use to shade. It looks like you use the sand brush tool on Clip Studio. It doesn't look very well. What I would have done, you can experiment with this, okay? Use the noise tool, the noise, the noise screen tone, right? Use the noise screen tone and see what that looks like without using this sand brush tool to put the shadows in, just to see what it looks like, because so far it doesn't look too good, bro. You know, and so they go at it, charging in. The fight continues. The hunter managed to get the claw up inside the wolf, and this moment is real cool, man. Real cool. We see the dude pushing through, dragging the wolf's arm, and him trying to lift the wolf, right? You can see the struggle over there, and totally just, well, smacking it to the ground. So that was a clean hit. And then all of a sudden, we jump back to Layla, and she says, "Now's my chance." Not thinking at all, right? Not thinking at all. This time, I'll make a difference. It was too obvious. We know exactly what's going to happen. Dude was about to finish the wolf, right? And then, oh no, the silly woman got in the way. That's exactly what it looks like, right? It's exactly what it looks like. She manages to stab the wolf, but that's obviously not good enough. You would think she'd understand that, but we, the audience, we just get mad. I get mad reading it like, man, this didn't have to happen. This really did not have to happen. So she manages to stab the wolf, but it just laughs. And the hunter yells, "Get out of the way." And we know what's going to happen. The dude gets totally clawed and punched in the gut, right? And sent flying. And now she realizes, oh no, what did I do? And the wolf says, "Young lady, come here." And Yasmin tells Layla, "Run away." And in this moment, it's silly. From here onwards, it's honestly silly, bro. I'm sorry, but it's absurdly silly. It's like, I don't care. In fact, I'm mad at this situation. I'm angry at it that it didn't have to happen. If you want us to care about Layla, you cannot make her make dumb mistakes like this that could have been avoidable. It's unrealistic. Well, it is poor writing, right? Because it didn't have to happen. There could have been something else that happened that would make us actually care for Layla in this moment. But it's legit her fault. It's her fault she got into this. I wouldn't tell Layla to run. I'd be like, "Woman, you got in the way. What do you expect? It's over for you," right? I genuinely don't care about Layla right now. I care more about the hunter, right? Layla did a stupid move, and now she won't pay for it, and I don't care, but obviously everything is framed as if we should care, but we don't. You see? So I'm not saying redraw this chapter and what else she can do, but however you plan to redeem this mistake, it's gonna have to be really good, bro. It's gonna have to be really good because, yeah, it was a major turnoff. So the wolf be dragging her, removing the scarf, and saying, "Oh, you have his scent on you. You guys were conspiring against me." Then he says, "I'm going to enjoy devouring your flesh." And that is the end of chapter 1. So, all in all, this chapter, I'm gonna give it a 6.5 out of 10 because of the dumb mistake that Layla did. And this is the fault of the writer. It didn't have to happen, bro. You purposely threw Layla under the bus. So it's getting a 6.5 out of 10. The intensity, the fight was great, was cool, but ultimately, because you threw the main character under the bus for the sake of the plot, for the sake of whatever is going to come next, yeah, that's just not how it's supposed to be. Like, not at all, And I gotta say that the wolf kind of looks... Oh, my bad. That's chapter 5 already. Let's go back. And it doesn't have all the pages. I gotta say that the consistency of the wolf here is somewhat consistent, but not in how big it is, right? We're struggling to grasp its actual size, Sometimes it looks smaller, sometimes it looks bigger. I'm like, nah. There's a problem with the size of the wolf. And the biggest part that made me feel like, why is this wolf much smaller here, bigger there, was right here, actually, this very panel. Now, see, Layla managed to stab it in the abs, but the way the abdomen is drawn here, it really looks small, right? It should be huge, absolutely huge. The knife or little dagger that Layla thrusted into its abdomen, it looks fairly big compared to the wolf's abdomen. And I'm like, actually, you should have zoomed in or executed the scale between the abdomen and the dagger a bit better. So that's just something to consider. The scaling of this wolf in comparison to the characters, because yeah, it's kind of hard to actually tell how much bigger it is compared to the humans. But oh well, 6 out of 10, man. Well done on the intensity, on the action, and so on. But you really did sabotage the character of Layla. She was supposed to be somebody who isn't gonna move backwards. I get humans can do that here and there, but we've seen it too many times in critical moments like this. It just makes us not like the character. It makes her, well, look stupid, and she's not stupid. So yeah, I don't know how you're gonna fix that for the next chapter, how you're gonna redeem her, but I hope you redeem her well, honestly. But that's it for now. If y'all would like your own paid review, it's $40 per chapter. A chapter is 15 to 25 pages. Until next time.